and welcome back to another episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. I am one of your hosts, Sheldon McKinney. And this week, we get to introduce you to two more of our 24-25 Kentucky FFA state officers. We have Ty Elrod, the Purchase Region State Vice President, and Parker Keese, the Northern Kentucky Region State Vice President. So, Ty, I'm going to have you get started. Introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, like she said, I'm this year's Purchase State Vice President, and I'm originally from Marshall County, born and raised here, and I've kind of grown up on a farm. We have beef cattle, and we grow a lot of hay, and yeah, that's me.
Okay. Parker, you're up.
Yeah, so kind of like Ty said, different parts of the state, but I'm the Northern Kentucky State Vice President. I'm originally from Gallatin County. I was born and raised on a farm here in Gallatin County. We have a small beef operation. I've shown some goats in my lifetime and shown beef as well. Yeah, we grow some hay, and that's kind of our operation in a nutshell.
Okay. So I want you all each to really think back to who you were as a freshman in high school 4 years ago. You all were freshmen during COVID times, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want you to think back to who you were then and where you are now at this point in your life. And how has FFA helped you grow? What ways have you grown through FFA? Parker, I'll let you get started.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely as a freshman in high school, learning just wasn't my thing. Being open to things that people were saying, trying to learn new things. I wasn't about it. Through the rest of my high school year and through FFA and definitely through state office, I've realized that there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of information out there. You just have to open your eyes and ears to it. Being able to learn and to realize that people aren't just crazy and aren't just talking to hear themselves talk, and usually have pretty valuable information anytime you can actually sit down and listen to anybody.
No, that's great. All your teachers just said amen. Yeah. Okay, Ty, what about you? How have you grown?
Well, I remember being in class as a freshman and hearing, hey, you've got to give a presentation, and internally freaking out because I hated speaking in front of people. I hated all of that. And then I got into FFA and I said the creed and we got into all this public speaking. I was like, this really isn't that bad. I can do this pretty well. And, then throughout high school, I continued to work on it through FFA. And I mean, now I feel like I could get in front of anybody and talk about just about anything. And so FFA really helped me develop that public speaking skill.
And that confidence skill that comes with it too. People don't just become state officers. It's a lot of work and a lot of growing yourself to get you to that point. So I want to ask you all about state office. And, we have very high expectations of our officers. We have tried to prepare you for a host of opportunities that you've had this year through a lot of training. I want to ask first question, what is a piece of your state officer training that maybe blew your mind, that you were learning this or that you just never thought you would have to be trained in this? So we'll go first. Ty, what do you think?
Oh, I'm gonna throw it to Parker. I'm gonna think about that for a second.
All right, Parker, what do you think?
Thanks so much, Ty. Definitely conversational skills. Whenever Cody Back came in and taught us how to actively listen, I felt like that's something that I've been doing, but until he really showed us how to do it and how to understand and how to keep a conversation going and it be a valuable and meaningful conversation, that was just something that I felt like I've been doing forever, but realized how much more there was to it that I'd never paid attention to or never knew was there.
Okay. So what are one of those tips that he shared that you've gotten to use this year?
Making people talk about themselves. That's their favorite thing to talk about, is anybody's selves. And as crazy or as cliche as that sounds, being able to understand a person by how they grew up, or they're starting FFA or agriculture, or just getting them to realize what we have in common, or what the connection is, or how maybe we were the same or similar in our paths early on in our years, and just stuff like that.
Yeah. That's so great. Maybe if you're a student listening or even an adult listening, you may not know that that's something we really practice with state officers, is being able to connect with FFA members at a dinner with adults or sponsors. But being a good conversationalist is a skill you can definitely practice. All right, Ty, what about you?
Going back through our training, one of the biggest parts that I remember is facilitation training. And that was really because I was real nervous going into that. I kind of just thought that people just knew how to do that, and I didn't. But going into our facilitation training and really learning how to give a workshop and make it effective. And I realized that I wasn't the only one who was a little bit confused about that. So that really was kind of my, like, oh wow, this is really big. It's something we get to do. And so yeah.
That's great. And that's great practice. Being a good teacher is a skill that you actively listening, going like, do you understand? How can I make you connect? That's awesome. So the next part of this question is, I've asked you about your training, but what are some moments you've gotten to have? You're almost at the halfway point of state office that you have gotten to experience that have been real, like, pinch me moments. This is awesome that I get to do this.
Well, I'll start. I'd say it was probably pretty early on at camp. One of the first nights, it was like, man, I am a state officer and I am back here at camp, but this time on a whole nother level. People are looking up to me, and everybody knows who I am, and I'm getting to talk to all of these people. It's just like, wow, I really am here, and I enjoyed it so much being able to do some workshops at camp, talk to everybody, and be involved with all the games. So that was definitely one of my pinch me moments.
That's great. Parker?
To be a little different, definitely agree with Ty at camp, but something that was super unique to our year was at national convention when Caroline got elected as a national officer. Being on the floor just for the whole convention, especially Temple Grandin and everything. Being on the floor and being that close to the stage is something that I've always sat way up in the very top of Lucas Oil, and being able to be that close was something that was super awesome. And then getting to see, one of our friends up there and called as a national officer, and now getting to watch on social media and everything else about where she's at and what she's doing along with that whole team. I think that's just something that's so cool and so unique to our year, that, not everybody will get to see. So.
Oh, that is so true. Being a national officer, we've had so many awesome Kentucky folks who've gotten to experience national office. They've almost made it look easy. It is not easy to be a national FFA officer. And the number of those folks is very limited, and especially those from Kentucky. And that is a once in a lifetime moment that you all got to witness that as we get to cheer her on all year long. So I want to talk about what you all are doing now. You graduated high school. You all are young adults into the world. That's when you serve as state FFA officers. Ty, tell us about what you're doing for school and how you made that choice.
Well, right now I'm a freshman at Murray State University studying ag business, and that decision come from my years of working on the farm and actually starting my own meat processing business, selling meat to consumers and restaurants. And I was like, man, I really like the sales aspect of it, and decided that that was something that I really wanted to go into and start studying in college. And so that's where I made that decision for ag business.
Yeah, that's great. Murray's not too far away from your home. So
Right.
you get to be close to the farm still, and they have a great school. Parker, you have made the choice. You have really been working since you have graduated during state office, and then you hope to go on and get training at the Kentucky Welding Institute and pursue a career in the trades. how did you come to that decision? And what makes you
Yeah,
excited about it?
yeah, definitely. I currently work for a farm here in Warsaw, Jones Brothers Farms. For anybody that's heard of it, they approached me. I was working with them throughout high school some too, and they approached me with the deal that they would help send me to welding school at Kentucky Welding Institute, and then I would work for them for some time. And their operation is just so vastly different from mine. It's a beef operation and some produce too, and that was just something that stuck out to me that was so cool. And where I'm from, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to necessarily get out and go to college. College is an hour away for everybody. If the closest one is an hour away, no matter which way you go, and it's just it's easier for me that wants to stay home and necessarily doesn't know what I would study if I went to college to do something that I've always seen need for, always been really interested in. I never took any welding classes in high school or anything, but I was definitely very interested in it, very, very much wanted to, and being able to work on a farm and found, some people that were able to work with state office and everything else has really been just such a blessing, and so much fun to be able to do what I love, but still dip into FFA and agriculture and really grow myself in every area that I can.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And we love FFA helps students find their next step, whatever that is. And it's been fun to get to watch you all explore what that is for each of you. So both of you have been on the receiving end of the Kentucky FFA Foundation's grant funding or student support in all kinds of ways. How about, will you share an experience a way that the FFA Foundation supported you, and maybe how that influenced your FFA journey? We'll start with you, Ty.
Well, one of my more unique experiences that Kentucky FFA has granted me and the foundation granted me was I was able to attend the Washington Leadership Conference. And that was something that I had heard about. My advisor went to it and said it really cemented her choice as an ag teacher for her career. And I was like, well, if it's that impactful, then I better go and see what this is all about. And so I applied and was able to get the scholarship to go through Kentucky FFA and the foundation, and spent a week in DC learning about leadership and what it means to be a leader, and using that historical town as our classroom. And it was just such an amazing experience. I got to meet people from all over the country, and some people that I still keep in touch with today that live hours and hours away from me. And that really impacted me for the rest of my high school career, and it's going to impact me throughout the rest of my life, bringing home all the skills that they taught me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We are so glad to support. We give out 15 full scholarships to WLC every year. We hope we get to do more in the future through donor support, but that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Parker, what about you? Have you received support from the FFA Foundation in any way?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe not as big as Ty, but definitely just as impactful. Prize money at state FFA convention. I don't think a lot of people realize it. I know that I didn't realize it until I got that check. But the prize money for just competing, and I don't even think I placed or did super well. If I did, I know I didn't make it on stage. But just the prize money and being able to reimburse some of my expenses down there, definitely made me want to come back and try again. And just that support it was kind of crazy to see that even though I didn't make it on stage, you all hadn't forgot about the rest of us and everything else. So definitely very impactful, but maybe just not as flashy as Ty.
Oh, no, it's so impactful. And people may not know that, but we do award nearly $100,000 in prize money to students, in checks ranging from like $40 to $500 if you're a state star. But if you compete in a speech, you get a $40 check at the state convention. That's pretty awesome to do. We hope to increase that. Yeah, thanks for sharing. We always wrap up the podcast by asking the same 3 questions to all our guests, and you all each get to do that. We'll start with Parker. And why don't you tell us the best piece of leadership advice you have ever received?
This is definitely something that I had to think about long and hard. But one of the one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was, when you do a job, do the best that you can. And that, sounds so shallow and so, I guess, cliche or just unimportant. But if my pawpaw told me that whenever a tree would blow little limbs down in the yard that would hit the mower, and we would pick them up, and if I didn't get them all, he would come out and tell us that whenever you do a job, you need to do the best that you can. And that just, it frustrated me. It was just the worst thing to hear, because I was tired of picking up these little sticks. It looked good enough for me, but carrying that throughout, the different jobs I've had in high school, and now that I'm kind of pursuing a career and everything else, that in the back of my mind, do the best job you can, throughout, my state officer candidacy, throughout my whole time as a state officer, doing the best that I can is just something that is so overlooked, because it seems so simple, but yet can be so complicated at times too.
So Ty, what about you? Tell us the best piece of leadership advice you have ever received.
The best piece of advice that I ever received comes through all of the interviews. There's a lot of interviews that we get to do in FFA, whether you're interviewing for an office or for a state star, and that was, be confident, not cocky. My grandfather told me this time and time again when I was preparing to go into something, and it really resonated with me, because nobody at all likes when somebody walks in and they're full of themselves and super cocky. But if you can walk in and be confident, not that you are the best, but be confident in what you have, that's really good.
Yeah. That's great. We actually, Cody Back, you mentioned him earlier. He had a conversation training, but that's one of the first things he taught National FFA officers was having humble confidence and knowing, having confidence in what you can do without being cocky. That's wonderful. Well, you all have mentioned a few folks that have helped in your journey this far, but I want you to each get an opportunity to shout out somebody who has poured into you. The FFA Foundation, we're a philanthropy, all about giving back time, talent, treasure, whatever it could be. Lots of people have probably made your FFA experience meaningful and been a huge cheerleader for you, but I'm only going to let you all mention one person each. So whoever can go first, you can shout out your one person.
Oh, you've cut me down to one, and I've got a long list. So, but if I did have to choose just one, it would have to be my grandfather, Johnny Dyke. He has been with me right from the start. He's the one that got me into farming and FFA, and actually, his jacket was the very first jacket that I ever tried on. And ever since then, I've worked for him, and he has just pushed me to do everything, no matter what it was in FFA or just in life in general. So he has been my biggest supporter, and I could not be where I am today without him.
Love it. Okay, Parker.
It definitely takes a whole crew to do everything, that push everybody where they need to be. But I definitely think it would be my pawpaw. He's the one that has put me into agriculture. He's the reason that I am where I am today, in agriculture and everything else. He's the one that he's got the cattle and everything else, and has really thrown me into the positions where I need to be, and has always, told me to do my best, and always made sure that I can be the best that I can be, but while I continue to grow too.
That's great. Grandparents are so special, and y'all are lucky to have them and have that meaningful relationship. So the last question, some of my favorites. This can be a serious answer, a silly answer, whatever you're thinking, but what is something you're loving right now that's helping you grow? It could be anything. Parker, what do you got?
I definitely think state office.
Okay.
It's something that I'm in and has consumed my life right this minute. But I'm loving every minute of it. It's great. The leadership skills and the workshop skills, just facilitating workshops and being more comfortable speaking, and being able to speak what's on my mind, but have it in a professional and thought out way. Just being able to be myself, but in a clear and concise way, And then the facilitation too, just being able to go into schools and meet with these students and these advisors, and being able to connect with them all is just something that I knew I was going to love, but until you get into it, you don't realize how much you're truly going to love it.
Mhm. That's awesome. All right. Thanks, Parker. All right, Ty, what about you? What's something you're loving that's helping you grow?
Well, I'm gonna have to piggyback off of Parker because mine is also state office, and everything that he said is exactly right. But it's also it's the people that we get to see and meet, whether that be FFA members, my fellow state officers. I love them just like brothers and sisters, and they really are helping me grow and meeting everyone throughout the year, and of course you, Ruthann, and Mr. Coliff, all being there to help us grow as well. So
Yeah.
that's what's been helping me grow.
All right, guys. Well, I guess one last word then. If there is somebody who's on the fence and thinking like maybe state office is for me, could I run? What would you tell them?
I think one of the biggest things is be yourself. I mean, that's who people want to see. They don't want to see some puppet up there acting when it comes to state convention or a workshop. They want to see true, authentic people. So you have to be yourself, and you have to really have a love for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely, if it's something you're passionate about, the rest can come with time. Like Miss McKinney mentioned earlier, there is all kinds of training that you guys put us through, and I'm not sure that majority of us were ready to facilitate workshops when we were elected, or the majority of us were ready to get up in front of the whole convention hall and give a speech or do whatever. But through training and through the love and support of the foundation and the association and the rest of your fellow teammates, you'll be able to get there. If it's what you're passionate about, don't let something that you're scared of and something that you don't know, don't let the unknown get in the way.
Yeah, that's great advice. I'm gonna tell you, nobody is ready when they're elected to go be the leaders of the state convention next year. You all aren't ready yet. We have another 6 months to go of speaking in public and visiting classrooms, visiting business and industry partners, learning more about agriculture. You all will probably do dozens of FFA banquets where you speak and meet people there. And all of that is just a little bit of growth every time that helps get you ready. And so it's an honor to get to watch you all grow and serve. And thanks for being a guest on the podcast today.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for
Really
having us.
appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. Growing Kentucky's Leaders is a podcast brought to you by the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Our music is performed by Bourbon County FFA member Joe Fritch. Artwork is by Julie Fritch Creative. Your hosts are Sheldon McKinney and Ruth Ann Fink, and you can find us on all social platforms at Kentucky FFA.